I'm Teresa Caraggio, and this is Third Paradigm. My title today is The Charlie Kirk Conundrum. I'm going to be looking at what actually happened and what's the agenda. I will assume that anyone who's listening to me is already past the lone gunman with a transgender partner story. We know that that isn't true. But what is? There are two leading conspiracy theories that I'm going to consider. One is Israel did it, and the second is no one did it because it didn't happen. I'm going to entertain the possibility that both of those are true. Let's do this. In the Bibi killed Kirk camp, the most comprehensive compilation has been done by Laurent Guyenot, in my opinion, who writes Radbod's Lament on Substack, and I'll be linking these at thirdparadigm.substack.com. Laurent has put together all of the different signs that Charlie was turning, that starting with October 7th, he was questioning the narrative and whether we were getting the full report from the media. He was inviting on guests like Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, Megyn Kelly, and Dave Smith, and they were encouraging him to question this more. That 24 hours before the shooting, he was already saying to Ben Shapiro, should we really trust the media on Israel? They've lied to us about so many other things. Now, Laurent sees all of these as signs that these are people who were putting pressure on him. He looks at Kirk as not having the same freedom as both Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson because he's still being paid. He hasn't left to start his own platform. And so he is more captured, in his opinion. I don't know whether this is all true because I've looked at those other people, and in particular, Tucker Carlson. Tucker's background with the CIA is just too compelling. And once you find that someone has lied to you about one thing, you have to question everything that they say. Tucker lying about his father being in the CIA and not knowing that until after he died is something that is on tape, that you know that he was lying about that. And so if he's lying about that, what else is he lying about? Anyone can have parents that they deviate from, but to lie about it is an entirely different thing. So at the end, I'll link my article on Tucker Carlson and Richard Warner and look at whether that is really a trustworthy source. I also look at Tucker Carlson with the Fiser expose, and I'll link that one too, because that was another instance where he went along with something that was such a hoax and such an obvious hoax. And that was the exact same time that Robert Malone, in that interview, launched Bobby Kennedy and his campaign for president. If there was ever an example of how we've been captured, that was it. I was just listening to Shannon Joy being interviewed by Doc Malik, and in there she talks about how Tucker can say exactly the right thing 99 times. And then when something needs to be said, he will fail to say it. That's how controlling the opposition works. You have to be saying exactly what it is that your audience is already saying. If there was not a group on the right who was saying these things about Israel, then everyone who sees things the way that they are, especially among young people, are going to then be captured by the left. You can't allow that to happen. You have to make sure that there are people who can bring them in on the right and then make sure that they are controlling the narrative when that 100th thing needs to be said. Laurent also mentions that Harrison Smith of InfoWars a month ago had reported that a friend told him that Charlie Kirk had said that Israel will kill him if he turns against them. But now Harrison Smith also reposts a tweet of Coldplay saying, this is no longer about left versus right. This is humanity versus insanity. So we also have this concept that there is a major thing going on that is pulling people apart, that is turning people against each other. Margaret Anna Alice, in a private chat, used the term fissure event. So the pulling of creating a chasm between two sides. And I think that is an excellent term because what we're looking at is whether people are being turned against each other in this case. And I even find that some of the things that are saying, we have to come together, people, are in a subtle way goading that way of looking at the other side as people who are inhumane, that it is humanity versus insanity, that it is still saying, yes, and even after Charlie was killed, people are saying, well, he deserved that. So they're ridiculing the left, supposedly, and are these even real people? Or are these plants? Are these ways that they are agent provocateurs who are saying incendiary things just so that they can be picked up on this side and they can seem like the reasonable ones, calling this side the ones who are inhumane? Margaret Anna Alice also pointed me to Celia Farber with The Truth Barrier. Celia describes how getting off of a plane, jet-lagged, having more travel to go, she started finding out about this story, and things just weren't adding up. And fighting herself all the way, she finally comes to this place of saying, no, I just can't believe it. I've had pieces of this coming to me through Kitten Seeking Answers. And Kitten is a great researcher and kept dripping in more facts and more little videos. Things like the dummy hands in the coffin that Erica Kirk, the grieving widow, is crying over, but are very clearly fake. There is a Mr. E video in which he takes the very fuzzy transcript, the footage, and does a very slow-mo analysis and shows that there is a movement of the shirt that Charlie is wearing, that it has a life of its own, that it seems like there's tubes, there's things blowing up, there's letters that come and go. His mouth entirely disappears at some point. And Kitten had also shown that there's something that looks like a backpack when he is shown from the side. And so in that video, there is a dark mark that appears in his neck, and then he falls, but the mark stays put. So that video is clearly fake footage. Is it fake footage because he was actually assassinated and they want to make it look like it was fake? Or has this been fake all along? The deciding point for me is the same one that is pointed out by Miri AF in Charlie Kirk, Turning Point or TV Plot. She compares the trajectory of Charlie Kirk to the same storyline of Family Ties, the film that launched Michael J. Fox into his career. It is a kid who is born to hippie parents who becomes an ultra-conservative. She shows that Charlie Kirk's outline, that him going from being a high school dropout to suddenly becoming this star and having this vastly successful career, is not believable. unless he was chosen and he was groomed for that he is an actor who's been put into that role and that he's been playing that out all along. What she says when she looks at the question of, was this assassination real? That the major point that cannot be controlled when you are doing something like that are the loved ones. The loved ones in a real assassination go off script. They are unpredictable. So in order to make it believable, you have to make sure that it is all faked. So when I watched the grieving widow give her speech and have it be so scripted and so badly played, come on, Melania Trump is a better actor, and that's saying something. I knew that this was fake. At some point, she makes a Freudian slip and says, and when the baby ran into our arms, and then shifts it to my arms. But her whole affect, she wipes away fake tears. She is clearly not in shock, not in grief. She has monarch, mind control monarch, written all over her. She was chosen by Trump. She was Miss Arizona at a point where he had taken over that entire pageant. So she's someone who has been cultivated to make sure that she is watching over to make sure nothing goes awry. What's the message of all this? Certainly to send a message to other critics of Israel, since they're the only ones who would pay attention to that conspiracy theory in the first place. Also, definitely to incite some kind of civil war and use all of this as an excuse to shut down censorship and make sure that they have a lockdown on the internet. I don't think it's going to work. I think that they keep trying again and again and again all of these different events that there's just not enough focus to be able to stick with something long enough to turn it into the turning point. And this is not going to be it either. For more deep fakes, where to start? This is Tucker Carlson and Richard Warner, and this is Malone the Zelensky of the COVID con, looking at the Pfizer on a first date fiasco. In the Substack, I'll also link Tricker Trump and deep fakes Eisenstein and Kennedy. And thank you for being my conspiracy buddies.